Drink this, and I'll spare your sons. That's what Korea's greatest king said to his own wife in 1482. Everyone calls King Seongjong the Korean Renaissance. Law codes, scholar kings, golden age. Yeah, all true. Here's the part the textbooks skip. He had 12 wives, 28 kids. He took the throne in half a day at age 13. And 10 years after he killed her, his son came back for revenge. 122 people died. Stick with me. November 28, 1469. Morning. The previous king of Korea, Yeonsangun, dies. He'd only been on the throne 14 months. Normally in Joseon, Korea, when a king dies, the country waits 4 to 6 days before naming the next one. Morning. Rituals. Paperwork. Not this time. By the afternoon, same day, a 13-year-old boy named Yeonsangun is sitting on the throne. Half a day, that's it. And here's where it gets crazy. He wasn't even next in line. He was third. Number 1 was Yeonjong's own son, 4 years old, too young. Number 2 was Yeonsangun's older brother, 16, ruled out for being too sickly. Number 3, the 13-year-old, somehow jumped the line. So who decided this? 2 people. His grandmother, Queen Jong-hui, the king's grandmother, and the actual person running the country for 7 years after. And his father-in-law, Han Myung-hoi, the Korean kingmaker, the man who stamped 4 kings into power, Joseon's only 4-time top-rank merit subject, and his 4th daughter, married to that 13-year-old boy. He didn't inherit the throne, he was placed there, by his grandmother and his father-in-law. Here's the thing about being placed on a throne by other people. Eventually you grow up, and you remember who put you there. And while he was growing up, he was also building the most refined Confucian state Korea had ever seen. Or was he? So on paper, this kid grew up into the perfect king. In 1485, he dropped Korea's first complete legal code, the Gyeongguk Daejeon. Imagine the US Constitution, but for the 15th century. Every Korean kid still learns about it in school. He published the national history, the national geography, the book of court music, the Confucian scholar king resume. Real. And the man studied. He sat through royal lectures with his ministers more than 9,000 times. Every single day. Reading books, debating policy. Picture Henry VIII, but with a PhD in constitutional law. That's Seongjong. Now here's where it gets crazy. He had 3 queens. He also had 9 concubines on top of that. Add it up, 12 wives. The average Joseon king kept about 6 concubines. He doubled it. Then count the kids. 16 sons, 12 daughters, 28 children. 1 concubine alone gave him 10 of those. 10. And he died at 38. The average Joseon king lived to 46. Our scholar king came up 8 years short. People love to whisper syphilis. Yeah, that's not it. Syphilis didn't even reach Korea until around 1510. Seongjong was already dead in 1494. The doctors today look at the boils, the weight loss, the way his body just gave up, and they're starting to say colon cancer. Now, I'm not saying he was reckless. I'm saying the receipt doesn't lie. He read with his ministers 9,000 times. He also slept with 12 different women, and his body sent the bill in early. But the man who put him on that throne, Han Myung-ho, he was about to find out exactly what that quiet scholar king could do. So picture this. June 1481. Ming envoys are rolling into Hanyang. Big diplomatic event. And Han Myung-ho, yeah, the kingmaker, the man who put the boy on the throne, he's built himself a private pavilion on the Han River. He calls it Apgujeong. Want to know what that name means? The place where I befriend the seagulls. This is the man who wrote the death lists that stamped 4 kings into power, and he's calling himself a friend of birds. That's like Tony Soprano naming his boat the Therapist. So Han walks up to the king, casual, asks if he can borrow the royal canopy, the one reserved for the palace, to host the Ming envoys at his own pavilion. The kingmaker asking the king for royal furniture for his own party. Seongjong doesn't blink. Build it somewhere else then. Tell the envoys to meet at Joseon. I don't care. Han sulks, boycotts the whole reception. Big mistake. Seongjong revokes his title, just like that. The most powerful man in Korea. Done. And here's the karma card. Han had 2 daughters, both queens, both dead young, one at 16, one at 19. No grandchildren. The kingmaker's bloodline ended before his. He died a natural death in 1487. But 17 years later, they pulled his body out of the grave and cut his head off. But here's where it gets dark, because the same king who took down a kingmaker was about to do something to a woman in his own bedroom that would haunt his bloodline forever. Her name was Yoon, and before she was a queen, she was nothing. Born poor, her father, Yoon Gig-yeon, was a palace scholar who died young. Her mother kept the family alive by weaving cloth at night. That's the girl who walked into the palace in 1473 as a low-rank concubine. 3 years later, August 1476, she was crowned queen. 3 months after that, November 7th, she gave birth to a son. The crown prince, the boy who would become Yeonsangun. Remember that name. Imagine that for a second. You're a poor girl. You marry the king of Korea. You give him his first son. You're queen. Then it cracks. March 1477. Someone finds poison in her room and a book of shaman rituals. The court wants her gone right then. Seongjong holds back because the baby's only 4 months old. June 2nd, 1479, they come for her again. The official charge, power grab speech, disrespecting the king's mother, Queen Insu. She's stripped of her title, demoted to commoner, thrown out of the palace. Now here's what's wild. You'll see this in every Korean drama. Queen Yoon scratched the king's face. That's why he killed her. Yeah, that's not in the records. That's folklore. The actual reason the annals cite is a sentence she said. A threat. 6 words. If I die, I will end your bloodline. She said that to the King of Korea. 3 years pass. August 16th, 1482, morning. A royal officer named Yi Sejwa walks to her parents' house. He's carrying a cup. The king sent it. Now slow down with me here. In every record we have, Yoon's voice is missing. Not muffled, erased. We don't know what she said when she saw the cup. We don't know if she cried. We don't know if she asked about her son. The men who wrote it down decided you didn't need to hear it. She drank. She was 26A, 2021 study in the Korean Neuropsychiatric Association Journal looked at her symptoms. Onset 4 months after giving birth. Worse after the second child. They suggest postpartum mood disorder, bipolar, the kind of thing that makes your recurrence risk jump 46 times. A king didn't see an illness, he saw a threat. After it was done, Seongjong gave one order. No one was to speak of this for 100 years. It didn't last 10. She said the king's bloodline would end. He had 10 years to forget. And then his son turned 6, then 10, then 16. Seongjong died in 1494. He was 38. The Renaissance king who wrote Korea's most beautiful law code didn't even make it to 40. Remember the gag order? 100 years of silence on what happened to Yoon. It didn't last 10. By 1504, Yoon's son was on the throne. His name was Yeonsangun. Somebody told him the truth. The exact how is fuzzy. The result is not. It's called the Gapja Purge, the 1504 Purge. And the numbers are clean: 239 people punished, 122 executed. Every minister who signed off on his mother's poison cup, Yeonsangun, went looking for them. Some of them were already dead. Didn't matter. Han Myung-ho, the kingmaker, the one who placed Seongjong on that throne in half a day, he died peacefully in 1487. 17 years later, Yeonsangun had his body pulled out of the grave. They cut the head off the corpse. Same treatment for everyone else who voted for Yoon's death. And in Sudaeby, Seongjong's own mother, the woman Yoon mocked back in 1479, she died that same year. Folk story says her grandson headbutted her to death. Literal or not, she's gone. Seongjong sent 1 cup of poison in 1482. 22 years later, his son sent 122 heads to the executioner. The Renaissance king wrote the most beautiful law code in Korean history, and he taught his son one thing: power means you can erase a woman from the record. The son learned the lesson. He just didn't know when to stop. And what his son did next, that's a story for another time. Subscribe if you want the Yeonsangun story.